Welcome Sewillow crafters. Today's video is all about mastering some of the trickier stitches in the Astaria crochet bag pattern. I'm Henry, the designer behind Sewillow crafting patterns, and I'll be walking you through the Raffia basket bag version of the Astaria pattern step by step. For this tutorial, I'll be using Raffia ribbon. This one's from Amazon, and I'll pop the link in the description below. The full Astaria pattern is available on the Sewillow website, Etsy store, and also over on Ravelry. I've linked all of those for you below. I'll be using UK crochet terminology throughout this tutorial, but don't worry if you're used to US terms. I'll show the equivalent stitches on screen whenever they differ, so you can follow along no matter which system you use. Alright, let's get started with our foundation. Because raffia can be a little stiff and might snap when under tension, especially when you're closing a magic ring, I recommend using a scrap piece of strong cotton yarn or string instead. So first I'm making the magic ring using the scrap yarn. I insert my hook, yarn over and pull through. That gives me a starting loop, and now I'm ready to chain one and begin the stitches as written in the pattern. We're starting with a double treble 2 together. So that's yarn over twice, hook through the magic ring, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops again. You've now got 2 stitches on the hook. Then yarn over twice, through the magic ring, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and again yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And now you'll have 3 stitches on the hook. Yarn over and pull through all the loops to finish your double treble 2 together. Then chain 1. Now onto the special stitches that really defines the texture of the Astaria bag, the linked double treble cluster. Here's how it's worked. Yarn over twice, insert into the magic ring, yarn over, pull through. Then yarn over and pull through 2 loops, twice, so you have 2 loops left on your hook. Now insert your hook into the vertical bar or post of that first double treble. Yarn over and pull up an elongated loop. Yarn over twice again and make another double treble from that point, leaving the last loop on your hook. You should have 4 loops on your hook now. Yarn over and pull through all 4. That's your linked double treble cluster. You'll continue with this rhythm, chain 1, double treble 2 together, chain 1, linked double treble cluster, just like the pattern outlines. Once you've worked all the way around, slip stitch into the top of the first double treble 2 together to close the round. At this point you can pull firmly on both ends of your scrap yarn to close the center. It does take a bit of force. Raffia isn't the most flexible material, but that's why we started with a strong cotton yarn for the ring. If you're finding this helpful so far, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Now let's move on to another slightly uncommon stitch that we'll be using throughout the rest of the pattern. In round 2, after starting with a chain 4, we work a partial double treble in the same space. That means you yarn over 3 times, insert your hook, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops 3 times. This creates the taller central stitch in the clusters, giving that lovely standout texture in the petal shapes. With 2 stitches still on your hook, you yarn over twice, insert into the chain space, yarn over and pull through 2 loops twice. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. So to close the cluster, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Next we move on to the full version of the stitch, which I've called the tall 3 stitch cluster in the pattern. Here's how to make it. Yarn over twice, insert into the chain space, yarn over and pull through 2 loops twice. That's your first leg. Then yarn over 3 times. Insert into the same space, yarn over and pull through 2 loops 3 times. That's your tall central stitch. Finally, yarn over twice again. Insert into the same space and pull through 2 loops twice. This is the third leg of the cluster. You should now have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over one final time and pull through all 4 loops to close the cluster. Now that you know how to do the tall 3 stitch cluster, just keep following along with the rest of the pattern. These clusters repeat throughout the rounds. The rounds between round 2 and round 6 are fairly straightforward. But when you get to the end of round 7, things shift a little. You'll be leaving the last 12 stitches unworked and turning your work. Don't worry, I'll guide you through it step by step. With your hook in the last stitch of round 7, turn your work as if you're turning the page of a book. Then chain 3. This acts as your first treble. And make a treble into the same stitch at the base of that chain. From here you'll be working trebles into the back loops only for this round. To do that, just tilt the edge of your work slightly toward you and insert your hook into the loop that's furthest away. That's the back loop. This creates a subtle ridge on the wrong side of your work, but gives a clean, seamless look on the front. As you follow the pattern, you'll also need to make some increases. Just work 2 trebles into the same back loop when instructed. When you come to a chain space, you'll crochet over the space and continue working into the tops of the clusters from the previous round. At the end of round 8, you'll need to work 2 trebles into the top of the chain 3 from the previous round. This helps maintain the shape and gives you a smooth edge to work from. Once that's done, turn your work, just like before, and continue in a similar way to round 8. The only difference this time is that you'll be working into the stitches as normal, not into the back loops. With all 9 rounds of the bag side complete, you'll need to make the second bag side and then follow the simple instructions to make the gussets. Now let's move on to making the cords. These act as the handles for your bag, and we'll be using a crocheted I-cord technique that gives a lovely rounded finish. I'm going to show you 2 different options. A 3-stitch I-cord and a slightly chunkier 4-stitch version. The 3-stitch I-cord works well for the smaller cotton bags, whilst the 4-stitch works better for the larger raffia bag like I'm making. I'll also be making this I-cord section available as a separate video here on the channel if you'd like to revisit it on its own. I'll make sure to add the link to the description when it's done. Let's start with the 3-stitch I-cord. Begin by making a slip knot and placing it on your hook. Now chain 3, this will be the base for your I-cord. Next, insert your hook into the second chain from the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. Then insert into the third chain, yarn over and pull up another loop. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. Here's how we form the cord, and don't worry if it takes a couple of tries to get the hang of it. Carefully slip the last 2 stitches off of your hook. Pinch those loops between your fingers. Yarn over and pull through the 1 loop that's still on your hook. Now reinsert your hook into the second loop you were holding. Yarn over, pull through. Do the same for the third loop. You'll now have 3 loops back on your hook, and that's 1 full I-cord round to complete. Just keep repeating those steps until your cord is as long as you need it. Initially, it might not look like it's forming a tube, but as you get to round 4 and 5 and you give a pull a bit on the cord, the stitches will start evening out, forming the cord. Now let's look at the 4-stitch version. It's the same technique, just 1 more loop. Start with a slip knot again, and this time chain 4. Insert your hook into the second chain from the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. Do the same in the next 2 chains. Now you've got 4 loops on your hook. Now I'll show you how I like to work the 4-stitch I-cord. Carefully slip the last 3 loops off the hook and pinch them firmly between your fingers. I like to squeeze together the stitch furthest from the hook and the stitch on the hook to already close the tube. Now yarn over and pull through the loop that's still on your hook. Now reinsert your hook into the next held loop, yarn over, pull through, and repeat for the remaining 2 loops. I always keep a firm hold on those loose stitches to prevent anything from slipping. Keep your stitches nice and loose to give yourself a bit of room to work with. Let me show you that one more time. Slip 3 stitches off, pinch together the furthest stitch and stitch on the needle. Yarn over, pull through. Go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull through. And again into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. And again into the last stitch, yarn over and pull through. It might go a bit slow initially, but before you know it, you'll have yourself an I-cord. Keep going until the length indicated on the pattern. When you get to the end of your I-cord, don't bind off the last 4 stitches. Instead, tie a knot big enough to prevent the tail from pulling loose. Next, I'll show you how to graft together the ends to make a complete circle. This is the only bit of sewing you'll need to do in this pattern. First, slide the last 4 loops gently towards the back end of your hook so they're easy to access. Then take a moment to find the starting end of your cord. Lay the cord out in a circle and double check that there are no twists. Now identify the legs of each of the starting stitches. These are the 2 strands that form the base of each stitch. I like to use my needle to gently slide under each pair so I know exactly where I'll be stitching. Make sure you can identify 4 sets clearly before you begin. With your darning needle threaded and leaving a nice long tail of raffia or yarn, we'll start joining the stitches one at a time. Begin with the first loop on the hook. Insert your needle from the back of the stitch and slide it off the hook. Now find the legs of the first stitch on the starting end of the cord and insert your needle behind both of them. Then go back to the stitch you just removed from the hook and insert the needle from the front to the back of that same stitch. Don't worry if it feels a little loose, we'll tighten everything at the end. Now let's do the next one. Either use your needle to slip the next loop off the hook or carefully slide it off. Insert your needle through the back of that stitch just like before. Find the next pair of legs on the starting end, thread your needle behind them, then return to the stitch you just removed and pass the needle from front to back again. Repeat that process for the remaining 2 stitches, or if you're making the 3-stitch I-cord, for only one more time for the last stitch. Once all 4 stitches are grafted, you can gently pull on the tail to snug everything up and neaten the join. If needed, you can use the tip of your needle to adjust individual stitches until it all looks nice and smooth. And then you can weave in the loose ends of the raffia or the yarn. You might notice a small bump where we grafted the I-cord ends together, but overall the join should look pretty smooth and seamless. Here's a finished example with the cord already attached to the bag so you can see how it will look. Now before we attach the I-cord, let me show you how to join the bag sides to the gusset. In this example, I've already joined one bag side, so I'll be demonstrating the process on the second side. Start by folding your gusset in half lengthways and mark the fold with a stitch marker, clip or spare needle. This gives you a halfway point. Do the same with the bag side, fold it in half and mark the lower point. Now with both the gusset and bag side facing the right way out, match the marked points and clip or pin them together. Continue clipping or pinning the gusset evenly around the curved edge of the bag side. Make sure the top edges of the gusset line up evenly on either side of the bag curve. It's worth noting here that the gusset is slightly shorter than the curve of the bag side. That's intentional to allow a bigger bag opening. Now just a quick note, I actually filmed this part of the video before I'd finished writing the final pattern instructions. Since then I've updated the pattern to recommend starting your joining stitches from the top pointed edge of the bag, but it's the same instructions working with a UK double crochet or US single crochet into each stitch. So with the right side of your bag facing out, begin at the top point of the bag side, work 1 UK double crochet or 1 US single crochet into each stitch along the edge until you reach the first point where the gusset is clipped. Now to join the gusset to the bag side, we're going to work 1 stitch into each pair of loops. Insert your hook through the front loop only of the bag side stitch and the back loop only of the gusset side stitch. Then complete your double crochet or single crochet in US terms. Keep working in this way until you reach the end of the gusset panel. After that, continue with 1 stitch into each stitch of the bag side until you reach the opposite top pointed edge. You'll be repeating that exact same process to attach the second bag side to the other side of the gusset. And now for the final step, attaching the I-cord handle. Take one of your I-cords and position it so that the grafted join sits right at the base of the curve on one of the bag sides. From the right side of the bag, start at the top pointed edge of the bag side. Line up each stitch of the I-cord with a matching double crochet stitch or single crochet if you're using US terms along the curve of the bag side. We're going to attach the handle by working slip stitches through both I-cord and the back loop only of each corresponding stitch on the bag. Here's what that looks like. Hook through a stitch on the I-cord, find that back loop for the stitches on the bag join and go through that loop. Then yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook. Keep repeating that slip stitch going through the I-cord and through that back loop on the bag. Go slowly and try to match each stitch exactly without stretching or easing. That way the handle will sit nice and smoothly. Continue working your way around the curve with those slip stitches until you reach the opposite pointed edge of the bag. When you're done, the handle should lie neatly alongside the gusset, forming that perfect arc. Just repeat the same process to attach the second I-cord handle to the other side of the bag. All that's left is to weave in your ends now. Just make sure not to trim them too short near your final stitches so everything stays secure. And that's it, your Astaria Raffia bag is complete. So that brings us to the end of the tutorial. There's something so deeply satisfying about making something with your own hands. It connects us to a long tradition of creativity, care, and craftsmanship. After all, as humans have always been tool makers, storytellers, and creators. Thank you so much for joining me in this process. If you have enjoyed this tutorial, feel free to like, subscribe, and share. And if you make your own version, I'd love to see it. Tag me on social media or share it wherever you feel proud. Until next time, keep creating and be proud of what you make.